All right, welcome back to EHC Unfiltered, where we dig into the systems, psychology, and the lived experiences that shape your performance and identity. Today's an awesome one. I've got someone that I had the privilege of serving with in the Marine Corps, and she is now doing something most people can only dream about. She is working directly on the Artemis II mission as part of NASA's board support team for exploration ground systems. It's quite the mouthful, but she's running the program review board for Anton Kurikwa. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Okay, perfect. Coordinating with engineers and writing reports that actually influence the mission decisions. And she's literally gotten to see the Artemis II rocket up close. So this is one of those episodes that bridges everything: service, purpose, discipline, and stepping into a mission way bigger than yourself. So, for everyone who doesn't know you, give us a quick version. Who are you? Who were you in the Marines? And what do you do now at NASA?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kilee Bylilly. I'm originally from New Mexico, the Navajo Reservation. So I bring a cultural background with, my native background. But I've served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. During my time I was an administrative specialist. Now I work at NASA, as you said, the board support team. It's been an amazing journey. It's been almost unexpected. I can't believe sometimes that I worked at NASA, coming from working at my S1 in the Marine Corps to there now is almost unbelievable to me, but I'm very appreciative and happy to be here. So yeah, that's my quick background.
Awesome, thank you. So, before we get into the crazy NASA stuff, what was your transition like? Because not many Marines end up working with rocket engineers.
Yeah, so my transition, I think that it was honestly it wasn't hard, but it was a little like unusual because the space and like the environment was very different. Marine Corps is very like, especially working with that infantry unit, almost not hostile, but like I mean, just very professional, and the way I conducted myself was very different. And being around a lot of males all the time, I carried myself very differently. But transitioning into, my space that I work in was almost kind of a little, I had like one ups because I was in that professional environment. I knew how to conduct myself because I'm working for the chair members that have been contributing to NASA for so many years. And so I know how to maintain that professionalism and I know how to conduct myself. And honestly, a lot of the stuff that I kind of touched in the Marine Corps and what I did correlated very well with the things that I do now. It just kind of like, I guess, like the context of what I'm doing now is different. But like the skills and like the tools I was using was almost the same. But I mean, it was amazing, a lot of the SkillBridge. So I utilized SkillBridge to get my job that I have now. And I think I applied to like 30 to 40 different SkillBridge things all around. I think I got one from New York to work at this law firm. So it was between this one and the one at the law firm in New York, because I mean, that's a great opportunity. They were willing to pay for like housing and everything. But because I got this email saying it was NASA, I was like, you don't get this all the time. I was like, there's no way. I was like, this has to be fake. So I looked into it and I ended up getting like, a whole letter talking to someone from NASA. I was like, you know what? I can't let this one go. So I have to pursue this. And so went through this, and I don't know, it's been an amazing journey. I ended up running into a lieutenant that used to be at our unit. I don't know if you knew him, Lieutenant Pendergrass, Justin
Yeah,
Pendergrass.
yeah, I,
Yeah,
I know of him at least. Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, he's working here at NASA too.
That's
Isn't that
insane.
crazy? It was like a full circle. So they have like little every two months we meet like all of us Gilbert interns. They go and take us out to dinner and they buy us drinks and everything just for us to interact and catch up. And I remember seeing him when I first kind of got there because I went from the first time to that, and I seen him. I was like, why does he look so familiar? Like, who is this? And then he's
Especially out of uniform too.
yeah, it was funny because he was like, "Hey," I was like, and then we just had like a funny moment. And he's like, "Don't call me that no more." He's like, "My name's Justin." I was like, "I know." I was like, "It's just funny."
Funny.
That was like so cool though.
So, what about your time in the Marine Corps do you think prepared you for like the level of precision and pressure and responsibility that you handle now working at NASA?
I think honestly, like time management and like what I did in the Marine Corps, like the DTS Defense Travel System, a lot of that was like almost time sensitive and a lot of pressure because you have all these people, waiting on you to make sure things move like smoothly and like working with higher ups during that time really helped me establish like this professional kind of like personality and the way I conduct myself. And just being able to work under high pressure and like everything like that, in Marine Corps, it was very different, the way I was treated was crazy and working long, strenuous hours to get people, what they needed, especially when we had to go to Japan during that small UDP. Um, I was working long hours. I was up late at night, trying to make sure that people would get home when they needed to, and all of these different things that a lot of people didn't really know.
Well, not you were a corporal at the time, or were you still a lance?
I was a lance for probably 3 months into the deployment, and then I got promoted to corporal.
So did you start getting put on duty and everything once you got promoted, or did they kind of
Yeah,
keep
I
you?
did. And I feel like it was a little I wish sometimes I think back and I'm like, I wish I would have taken more like initiative because I think sometimes I was too like being the only female, I should have been more like I don't know. A lot of the junior Marines, we established like close relationships, and sometimes it was kind of hard for me to take that initiative to be that kind of like leader and tell them like, hey, we can be friends outside of this, but like right now, we got to get shit going.
Yeah, I get my guess would be that you find that much easier now. Do you notice coming from, 3-6 and coming from such a male dominated environment, do you think that prepared you for what you're doing now?
Yes, it definitely did because so now I'm like not in charge of the luminaries, but I'm in charge of them making sure that they maintain like so during my meeting, my chair member Anton, he'll assign these engineers like formal actions where he wants, certain things done in a time frame. I'm a lot of the engineers, I feel like they didn't know my background and I'm just super nice and like, smiling a lot. But I'm able to hold them up to that standard to get on the passes and like it's honestly, it's very nice, like, I can be, like all of my background with the Marine Corps has helped me a lot because I feel like I really know how would I say it? Be able to track people, like, track items and get on people's, like, make sure that they're doing what they need to do, and it's really helped with, like, I guess, management, you know?
Yeah, it's just almost like
Not
second
like,
nature to you at this point.
"You need to get this done."
So a lot of veterans struggle when they leave the military, and I know you said SkillBridge was a big part of it for you. Is that kind of what kept you locked in and moving forward, like because you just kind of had the next thing to do?
Yeah, honestly too, I was really trying to fight to make sure that I had a permanent position here because they have a lot of people trying to get, this board support job all the time. And so kind of the meeting I took over too was it's a very big meeting. It's hard. There's a lot of behind the scenes that I do. And so I was very like kind of competing, to make sure that I made sure that I had a spot to like make sure I was gonna have a job for the rest of like my time being there. And because I was an intern, it was very hard because a lot of my counterparts they all have like their bachelor's degrees or they have like so I kind of felt like a little like damn like I don't have the degrees but I'm still competing because of my time in the Marine Corps.
Do you credit SkillBridge mostly for kind of keeping you on track in that transition?
Yeah, I do. I think so, and especially like the coordinator that they had here with the SkillBridge, he was very great and like was a good mentor during my time and helped me out if I actually had questions and like if I had any concerns, he was always there, like the SkillBridge person that I had. It was very helpful, honestly. I feel like a lot of people they they're not aware of how helpful SkillBridge really is if you just know how to utilize it.
Yeah, I think it goes underutilized for sure. Did you always know that like NASA was kind of on your radar, like that was something you were interested in? Or did it just
No.
happen to be one of the 30, 40 places that you applied for?
It just happened to be one of them because I think I applied to at least 38 to 40. I'm not sure specifically, but I got back, I think like 15 acceptance, emails and letters and everything. And it was for different jobs because of like, my admin background, I can kind of go into anywhere. And so they had, like I told you, the law firm, and then they had another one at like the car dealership, just all depending on what I actually wanted to do. And so they had this other one in Cali for like some workout place, and I'll just go to be like kind of like their paperwork management, so kind of everything. But it just like stood out to me because it had NASA stamped on the email
Right.
and
Yeah,
everything.
NASA's
I was like, this is This place because when I first applied, it didn't state NASA. It was just stating at the Space Center here. And so I thought it was like working at the little museum that they have here. So I wasn't like sure what it actually was. I just applied, you know. And then they got back to me and they're like, "Oh, this is what you're doing. Like, are you interested?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, I am."
Let's break down a little bit what it is that you actually do because it's wild and most people, I mean, even like yourself, don't know that roles like that exist, right? So explain what the board support team actually is in simple terms for us.
Yeah, so my team that I work with, the board support, we're basically supporting all of these like high official meetings. So there's a lot of meetings going on, especially because the Artemis II mission, the rocket is expected to launch next year in February. And so they're doing a lot of like, still work and decisions as far as like the program side, like the programmatic sides, and almost how would you say it? Like changes to documents, and they call this like CW. I forgot what it. There's so many acronyms. I had to learn that like from the military. We have all our own acronyms, and then coming to here, it's like as long as you know the acronyms, you understand the language. But
I've brain dumped so many acronyms since like leaving. Like
yeah,
I'll talk to another vet or something and they'll say something that almost like triggers it.
yeah, see, it's like you know in your head from that coming in. And here I had to literally, I think I have like 3 websites I have saved for NASA app because I just don't know what they're talking about sometimes. But yeah, basically our team supports all of these different meetings, and it's we support the NASA launch director, her, and then we support all of her meetings. Anton, who's the senior technical leader, so he does like all of the kind of like the paperwork side and the program side because they have all these tools that they use, and it's like a lot of the tracking of different things to like the mission. If that makes sense, as far as like kind of like tests that they conduct and trying to make sure that everything runs smoothly on the rocket itself. So kind of that's what we do, and we track all of the decisions, like anything like the dispositions, whether they concur, not concur, and so we're making sure we track those things and any like huge, how would you say it? Anything huge to note in the meeting, like something that just went wrong and we have to document all of that correctly. And it's so funny because sometimes they talk, especially Anton. I love him, but he's so funny. Like he's very, very serious, but he has like a no shit side. Like we gotta get this fucking done. And it's so funny because I'm like, how am I supposed to turn that into like professional meeting reports? But it's pretty cool, for me to be a part of these meetings. And he holds these a lot of these engineers to like, a high standard. And not a lot of them think like that. They kind of like have their own like this is the way it's done, this is the way it's always been done. And he pushes them to like, we need to think more, like to make sure that this runs smoothly. Like we already did that, how can we be better? How can we improve? And so that's kind of what we do when we support any like just pop-up meetings. And we do kind of like the whole setup of it. A lot of people think that we just sit there and like click through slides. But like, we're establishing quorum, making sure all the correct people are there in the meeting, especially because they have a lot of like input. And if one person that's like not there is almost like a big thing. Like that I think it was like 2 weeks ago, one of our meetings, the like some person that was supposed to be there, it like created a huge issue. And, just little things like that. It's like almost so funny. So we're really just like supporting all of these meetings, but at the same time, we're doing all the documentation side and we're sending out all these invites to like, I think my meeting has 650 people, which is crazy. And
That's a
so
lot. I mean,
it's kind of scary, and making sure like paying attention to detail with everything. And my meeting specifically, I work with configuration management, and so they run like a lot of like program side, and they're called change request CRs, and it's just like a bunch of different working like how would you say it? They're working topics in like projects that are contributing to like the mission right now, and they're just doing a lot of different things over there all the time.
well, that's people romanticize NASA, but the gravity of what you're handling is huge. What kind of pressure comes with knowing that decisions you're supporting impact, that kind of mission?
It's a lot. Like I give you an example. I think last week So my core hours are from 9 to 3, but because of what I do, I come in at 7 or 8, and I like to be early, when I get paid to be in there extra time. But I think I overslept one time and I just wanted to come in at 9, and I'm always there at 8. Anyways, I got there at 9:05, and literally my Teams messages were flooded, and my it's literally like everybody's trying to figure out, what happened in the past meeting, or they need like previous presentation. What was the disposition for this like topic? It's a lot of like pressure, honestly. And I'm keeping
It
all of
sounds like your team is kind of like the glue that's holding everyone else together.
Yeah, because honestly, like a lot of these engineers, they're so smart, but they literally cannot set up like a room and and like do the paperwork side. And so that's why we're there to support them, obviously, board support. And so we all kind of just work together in a team. And it's very cool because, I thought NASA is just NASA engineers. That's the only thing there. But there's so many other different things that I started to find out working there and talking to a lot of people. The work environment there is amazing. Like the people are great.
That's awesome. And you said you've actually gotten to see the Artemis II up close. So you've sat
Yeah,
rooms where
when I
decisions
first
were
got
made.
there
Go ahead.
yeah, when I first got there, I was on like, they have, like, walkways up there where it's kind of from a distance, but because I got, more closer and I started working there and I got, like, a permanent position, they gave me more access, and so one of the engineers, his name's Juan, he asked me, he's like, "Have you been able to go and see, the rocket up and close?" I was like, "No, not yet." And he has unescorted access because he works there and everything. And he took me, and it was so surreal, like, it was such a morale booster, I guess you'd say, seeing it up close and, like, the meeting that I run, a lot of the information and everything and the topics that come in board, I almost like, I could understand what he was showing me. I was
You
like,
can
"Oh
like
my god."
visualize it.
Yeah, it was so cool, and we're walking around everything, and it was like, they're called payloads. Payloads are like, either they have different, like, almost like how would you say it? Like, almost like, human cells or even, like, plant cells, and they're, like, putting that in there to go take it up into space and be able to, like, conduct experiments up there. And so they're like these little cubes like this, and they're such a huge deal, and I got to see them inside of the rocket, and it was so cool. I was like, "Oh my god, these little things are making the biggest fuss for everybody," you
Yeah.
know,
But
just seeing up
we all know
close.
what it's like when you lose a nod in the field or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, and it was just crazy
one
because
little
it made
piece.
me laugh. I was like, "Oh my god, this is, like, almost like the Marine Corps."
I believe it. Do you think that was the most surreal moment you've had so far, was getting to see the rocket?
Yeah, honestly, that and I think another one was a meeting where they're, briefing expected, like, next year. So the Artemis III mission is they're trying to land humans on the moon again. So this one is like, I guess kind of like the pre-test to go fly around, and they have a seated crew this time. And so they actually have people. The Artemis 1 mission was just trying to make sure that the rocket that they're building now can actually go into space orbit. And now they're putting live humans on there. And then Artemis 3, they're going to be landing on the moon again. And it's going to be the first woman and how would you say, a color person, being landed on the moon for the first time. So it's pretty cool. And I got to meet all of the astronauts on the rocket that's going to space next year. That was another surreal
Yeah,
moment.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was so cool. Let me see. I have a picture right there. So we get these, and I met Victor Glover. He's literally the pilot. I met him. I met Reed Wiseman. It was funny because Reed Wiseman, we had an all hands meeting where all of us are there, and they're like, "Oh, we have special guests today. The astronauts are coming." I was like, "What?" I was still brand new, and they come in their like suits and everything. And Reed Wiseman came up to our group right away, and he started talking to me, and I thought I had a fangirl moment. I've never had a fangirl moment, and with him, I just didn't know what to say. I was like, "Oh my god."
I mean, it's not every day you meet someone that's getting launched into space, so
Exactly. I was like, "This is crazy." And so it was the coolest thing though, getting to talk to them, and they're so, like, so kind, and they're just so smart, hearing them talk and everything. I was like, "Wow."
was there anything that surprised you about how NASA operates?
I think I don't know, everything I would get surprised by the littlest things. I don't know. There's so I don't know, I think just the work environment and maybe I don't know, I don't think I can have a specific example right now. Nothing that's too surprising to me. I think everything just surprises me, like,
Well, that's
just
good. It
the way
means you were kinda prepared in a sense too, right? So,
yeah, honestly, I think so.
do you think there are any, like, big misconceptions or anything about NASA or space missions that, like, the general public wouldn't know?
I don't think I have anything specifically to say for that. I mean, there's just a lot going on, especially with NASA trying to compete with SpaceX right now, and I don't know.
Is it like a big team thing over there where it's like, we gotta beat them," or is it kinda, like, more subtle?
Yeah, it's a big team thing. There's meetings too where they kind of like will make fun of SpaceX for certain things, and it's kind of like rivals.
Yeah, you gotta watch your competition, but it also keeps everyone working, like, a little bit harder. I think that's probably
Yeah, really. They're trying to I think they're trying to make the work environment very great too because there's a lot of people SpaceX is trying to take a lot of the NASA engineers and offering them, like bigger salaries and everything. So it's been crazy.
I mean, it means you guys are doing your job, right?
Especially it was a really good thing that happened to me with the whole I guess, with the whole, like, drama thing saying that Trump and Elon broke up, blah, blah, blah. But, like, their whole drama was in favor for NASA because Trump refunded NASA. I think it was, like I don't know the exact amount, but NASA was good in, like, a good standing point after that whole thing happened because it was almost like he was just going to go through with SpaceX and everything, but they refunded NASA for, like, I think almost to Artemis 5. I'm not sure what the
That's
rest of
good.
the missions are yet. I'm still learning because the Artemis II has, like it's been a lot of information to absorb because honestly, like, I've never known anything about space or NASA. Not really been specifically interested because I never thought that that was something that would be available for me or an opportunity for me. And so I've honestly just been learning along the way and talking with a lot of the engineers and just learning what's going on there, honestly.
So, when you're in all of these meetings and everything that, everything has to go right, what does it make you think about in that moment? Are you thinking about, like, the pressure, the teamwork, the performance?
Think it gives me I get, like, a adrenaline, especially with, like, certain topics that I know that are very, like, high level, and there's, like, a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders that are worried about this. I don't know, it makes me kind of, like, excited. I think I've been doing this for a long enough time to where I am very confident, and I think just too being in the Marine Corps, being able to, like, maintain myself and not be so freaked out about things and just understand that I don't know, like everybody here is a human and I don't know, I don't feel too pressured, but it's exciting being a part of these like decisions and finding out, what Anton's going to decide and hearing the other chair members talk. They're all like so smart. They've been there for so many years and just hearing them talk is like amazing. They all have something to say and they all bring up different ideas or how something could go wrong. It's just like, whoa, couldn't even think of something like that, like, that's crazy.
Well, that's one thing I love about, like, conversations like this is that it's the human side of the system. So the mission is huge, right? But it is built
Mhm.
by people like you and your team. How do you personally handle stress at this level? How have you been doing that? Or has it just been the Marine Corps fully prepared you and this is nothing?
No, I think, honestly, I've gotten into a good routine of, like, going to the gym again, and it's funny because they have this little, like, window where, you can see the whole VAB and, like, all the launch pads, and they call it the the stress window. And they're like,
That's
"Oh,
pretty cool.
time, get away from your desk, let's go over here." And honestly, just talking to a lot of people at work, because 'cause we're all going through the same thing, and we kind of are able just to vent to each other and just talk about, like, everything going on. I'm like, "You know what? It's not that big of a deal. We got this." Like, and having that good support from my other team members, because a lot of them I'm the youngest in my board support, like, team. It's crazy because the lady that ran the meeting before me, her name's Essie. She ran PRB for 3 years, the program review board, and she's the only person that's, like, done it, and then she got handed over to me and she was, like, so amazed. She's like, "Wow, you just are you know everything, and you're just, like, clicking on pretty fast." And her youngest child is older than me. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. And I mean, so do you feel pressure? in that sense? Like, because you're the youngest, right? You're um, a woman in a male-dominated field again.
Honestly, it gives me drive. It makes
Yeah.
me like, yeah, like I'm still competing. I don't have a big old fancy degree like you guys. I want to. I do plan on going to school, but right now it's like I'm able to compete, and it makes me feel like I love showing up every day, seeing what's new and how I can contribute, and I think it just makes me happy knowing that I work there for NASA and driving up and seeing the vehicle assembly building where they have the rocket at. Like seeing that every day is so surreal. I think it's like the biggest, what do they call it? One-story building in like the United States or something. I
That's
don't know.
crazy.
Super huge. It looks not that big when it's far away, but when you walk up to it, it's like, oh my God. And it's crazy too because when I first came here to Titusville, is where I relocated. Before I even started, I had like dinner at one of like the little places here, and I they have a veterans. And so I was at the veterans park, and you can see the VAB and everything. I seen a lot of people like park and like were standing by the water and everything. I was like, what's going on here? Like, why is everybody like looking in that direction? Because I wasn't aware that there's a lot of like flight space like rockets going off all the time. Whether it's like SpaceX or like Falcon 9 or all that stuff. I wasn't very aware of that because I was so getting used to the area and I didn't know nothing about what's going on here. And so I seen that, whole launch and then next thing the VFE. I was like, oh, that'd be cool if I could work right there. But I was like, I don't think I'm gonna work there. I think I'm gonna work in at the visitor center. And my first day, they gave me the location and I drove. I was like, there's no way.
You're like,
Like,
there's a mistake.
where
Something's
crazy, and then I work on the 6th floor and, like, hearing some people talk, they're like, "Yeah, the 6th floor is, like, the the big floor where they have all the chair members and, like, the launch director, she's up there," and I was like, "Whoa, what did I get? Like, what is this? This is crazy."
And I know your heritage is very important to you as far as like where your people came from and everything. Is that another driving force for you as far as like motivation to perform at such a high level?
Yes, it is, I mean, coming from, where I come from, the Shiprock is my small town, but the Navajo Reservation, there's a lot of poverty, a lot of just a lot going on. And so coming from how I grew up, I just never would have imagined that I'd end up here. But I've worked so hard, and a lot of people from my community, whether they have me on Facebook, Snapchat, or whatever, they send me messages and they're like, I'm so like, I look up to you, Kylie, and I'm just like, whoa, I didn't even know who you are. But, thank you. And like even some people like, I went to high school with you, and it's just so amazing to see that you're representing the people and spaces that really have never been a part of, And I recently found out that, NASA, where I work at, they do outreach. So outreach is like they literally prepare all of this NASA gear and materials and everything, and they send it to schools, and it's all for free. And I found that out, so I'm working on a project right now where I connected with my old 8th grade teacher. I've had it from Facebook. Yeah, I was she still works on the reservation. She works with 3 of the elementary schools, and I told her what I'm doing now and everything, and I want to do outreach, for the students in the reservation. And she was like, "Yes, like, oh my gosh, the students are gonna love it." And I worked with NASA, and so I'm happy the government shut down. It's good now because we can send all of that stuff. And it's like a huge box of just NASA gear. We're sending it to the students, and so I'm gonna do a whole presentation with them as well. And I'm gonna get 2 of the NASA engineers. I'm really close with them, and I talk with them, and I was telling them what I wanted to do and do with like a whole presentation for the students, and they're like, "Yes, like we'd love to do that." And I've been teaching a lot of people at my job, about like the truth of my native heritage, and a lot of them just aren't aware. And they're just like, "Wow, that's so amazing."
No, most of us, like, the only reason I think the Navajo are at least somewhat of like a household name is just from the Navajo code talkers. And from that, I think that's really the only input most of us have as far as, that tribe goes. So
Mhm.
I think it'll be really awesome, honestly, just because that is huge to go from, you know, a situation like that to the Marine Corps and then NASA and then, who knows what else. You're still young, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that could happen between, now and the next couple of years. So
I know I've been trying to make sure that I get in touch with good mentors and like people on my job that are in high positions where I wanna go back to school. I'm not specifically focused on like, I don't know what I wanna go into yet, but that's why I've been trying to talk to people that are in high positions at my job and be like, "What did you go to school for? What did you study in?" You know, just to kinda get some good influence and see what I actually wanna do and use my benefits.
Yeah, right. So, have you ever experienced, and if you have, how do you manage imposter syndrome where you basically feel like, almost like just an imposter in your own skin, right? Where you're like, this isn't me. This isn't where I should be. But when you're surrounded by literal rocket scientists.
I think I take, like, moments to myself where I have to remind myself that, like, everything that you've done and all the things that you felt like you were never gonna get out of, you got out of, and you're here for a reason, you know? And I have to remind myself all the time, like, even though you're here with all these people that, have a lot of not like it was easy for them, but they had a good, structure to get them where they're at compared to me. And I'm just super appreciative all the time. And I tell myself, like, you worked very hard to get here, you struggled in your time in the Marine Corps, you suffered certain times, and everything that you went through that was very hard, you are meant to be here, you know? And I tell myself that all the time. I think I reflect back to a lot of my moments in the reservation and I think about all my people and like what's going on there still. And I'm like, you know what? I need to be here. I'm meant to be here. And there's a lot of people there that have been like talking to me, kind of like curious because of my last name, Bylilly. They're like, where are you from? Like, what is, like, I've never seen that last name before. And so honestly, I think just a lot of moments to myself and getting to have a conversation with people where they just ask me basic questions and it turns into a long conversation because I have such a unique background and story. And so I think that's just helped a lot, just reminding myself. I've worked very hard to get where I'm at.
Absolutely. And I mean, now, especially if you're doing like outreach programs and things like that, like you really are becoming like the poster child for what could be for a lot of these kids, right? Because especially,
Yeah.
a lot of them are coming up with not a lot. And so a lot of people think that they're, held back because of that, but you're the perfect example of what can happen. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's what, my teacher, she was telling me. Her name's, Benji Bial, and she was like, because the presentation that I showed her was all just gonna be NASA focused and about the engineers, and she was like, "Oh," she was like, "You need to include some stuff about yourself." I was like, "What?" And she was like, "You need to talk about your journey." And she's like, I know when you were here and you used to, be my student, there was times where I could tell you had a lot going on at home, but you were always present in like, in class and you were just a great, student. And when I found out the truth about a lot of things you were going through at home, it just almost like surprised me. And she was like, it would be so good for the students to know and like tell them the truth about what you've been through and how you grew up like in your childhood, to show them that they are more than capable of making a life for themselves outside of the reservation. Unfortunately, it's like they have to move off the reservation to like be successful because there's not a lot of sources on the reservation. Sad to say, but that's the truth. And
Yeah.
she was having to include a whole like at least like 2 slides or a slide about yourself and just share pictures and just about your journey and how you got there and just show them that they can make it too. She was like, it'd be so refreshing because she's like, as sad as it is, but, like there's still a lot of same things that you went through going on here for these students. Because my background, I don't mind talking about it. My mom's a really bad drug addict. She was never really part of my life. My dad's an alcoholic. He was just kind of there, like I guess, to be kind of a parent, but, like, I really grew up with my grandmother, and I moved out when I was 16, and so I just kind of been very, like, independent my whole life. But that's why I also remind myself and I'm very appreciative where I'm at because of just my long journey. And your cat is cute.
Yeah. She's not happy unless she wants to like become a part of me. This is all she wants with her whole day.
Yeah, my
But
cat is just sleeping on the floor right now. Yeah, he's
but no,
fine.
that's a lot because I mean I live near the reservation up here in upstate New York. I want to say, are they the Mohawk or the Tomahawk? I'll have to look it up. But Yeah, and I know we have a lot of similar issues up this way, just as far as like the drugs and the alcohol, and
Mhm.
so I know that's on the reservation as well. So it is really just it's awesome to see, someone being able to bring it into a good light, because I think oftentimes, reservations are kind of seen as like the ghetto, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that's just not accurate often. Like, yes, they might be less, impoverished. They might not have these big, crazy houses and things like that. But realistically, just as many opportunities. It is unfortunate that you have to, branch outside of the reservation to really seek more. But
I
it's
think a
awesome.
lot of people too don't realize, like my great grandmother, literally that close in generation, my great grandmother was the last one to go to a boarding school. The ones where a lot of that bad stuff that happened, and just a lot happened to Native kids during that time, and where they tried to strip them of their language and their culture. And that is so close in generation. And so our people are still healing from all of that. And, I feel like each generation, like my generation is a lot more better. And I can see it with my cousins, my nephews, my nieces, that they're having a better life than I've had. And we're finally like healing from all of that. Like my great grandmother before she passed away, she used to tell me about crazy stuff that happened to her in those schools. And I feel like a lot of reservations, we are still dealing with that generational trauma, honestly. And so that's why there's like so much alcoholism and drug abuse, and there's a lack of resources and like support to be able to, heal from those things and help the people. And honestly, native reservations are targeted too, because like when I grew up on the reservation, it was scary. Like we used to have to there are people that be coming outside of the reservation that come onto our reservation and like take kids. If missing a murdered Indigenous woman is a big thing. Like highly target reservations because they know that there's a lot going on there. Ketamine is like a huge thing, and like it's sad. It's a lot going on. I hope that one day when I become super, more knowledgeable and everything, I do want to go back. Not necessarily. I don't think I want to live there for the rest of my life, but I do want to go back and be able to contribute back to my people and do something because I feel like I'm very aware of all of the problems and everything that's going on. I think that I could contribute something for sure.
Yeah, you want to be the person that you needed when you were there.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
want to be
That's
that for
exactly.
other people. So I think that's incredible. And I mean, the fact that a female Marine in and of itself gets respect across the board from people, right? You were attached to an infantry unit, which brings you up another notch, and now you're working with NASA. So
I know
that
it's crazy. Funny when I'm at my little desk and everything, and I think back to being with 3-6, I laugh to myself sometimes. I'm like, "Oh my god, there is no way I used to be doing some of that." It just makes me laugh.
came a long way from the S1.
Yeah, I did, and I'm just like, "There's no way." But it just makes me laugh, and it makes me feel appreciative, though. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, wish I did this and this differently," but I'm like, "You know what? No. I'm where I'm at now because of everything that played out already?" And
Yeah,
I do
I
think back,
struggle with
that's
that
just
sometimes.
amazing journey, honestly.
That's awesome. So where do you see your career going now? Has working at NASA changed your trajectory?
Yeah, I'm almost getting a little influenced to wanna, like, go to school for engineering now. Honestly, like, being around this and hearing them talk and everything, I'm like, "Wow, I wanna do this," but also too, I'm like, I wanna be in the management side. I don't really know what I'm gonna be specifically career-wise I'm doing, but I know that, NASA has influenced a lot of, like, I guess just me too, because the environment is so healthy, like, they push you and they want you to go to school, they want you to be doing more outside of what you're doing at NASA, and, my review that I did of myself I got a raise recently too, isn't that crazy? Yeah, I
So all
didn't
the
know.
good things happen.
Uh, it's almost like you do annual reviews of yourself, kind of like how JPES is, but you write it about your own self. You don't like have anybody putting in their 2 senses about you. You write what like they ask you, I think it was like 8 questions. And it's about performance stuff and like your contributions to NASA, what you're doing outside of NASA. And you fill out, the whole questionnaire and you rate yourself from 1 to 5, and you do all of that, and then after that, I meet with the manager and met with my manager, Angela, and everything. We discussed everything, and she's like, "Yeah, she's like, "This is my rating for this," and and all of it literally aligned with what I put in for myself. She's like, "Yeah," she's like, "You're doing amazing. We calculated the amount of hours you've been doing and everything and the amount of work that you do," and she's like, "Yeah, you're getting a raise." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Already?" I was like, "I haven't even been here for a year." She was like, "You're doing amazing." She's like, "You came in and you said that you knew nothing about NASA, and you're like the first person in board support how that just clicked on and everything, especially with the program review board." She's like, "That's a big meeting to handle because the other meetings they're not as I guess, not as challenging because they only have, like, 1 to 2 topics or it's just 1 topic specifically. My meeting, I deal with anywhere from a minimum of 12 to 28 topics, and that's, like, a lot of coordination, that's
Yeah.
28 years coming to the meeting. My meeting is, like, 3 hours, 1 to 4. It's a lot, and having to track all of that stuff and the context and having to write the reports on it, it's like I'm absorbing all of this NASA technical information with, like, not even no background in it. But it's been amazing, I go out of my way to talk and coordinate with engineers and, they explain to me like, the way that I understand, because they've been doing this for
Right.
so long, they can talk in acronyms, they can talk, so fast about it, but they break it down for me, and a lot of them are great. I feel like I bring a great attitude and, like, personality to where they're just like, yeah, like, they want it, So it's been really
Yeah.
great.
Well, and that's huge is like being teachable is one of the biggest skills that someone can have, I think, because you don't have to know everything.
Mhm.
But if you can be taught how to do it, then you're good. So, if there was a young Marine or a veteran asked you how to get into a role like yours, what would you tell them?
I think I would first tell them, like, find any SkillBridge opportunity, and then if anything too, like, so I recommended one of my friends. Hopefully, we'll see because like the job positions are filled up now. But like finding someone, like other vets and everything. And I think that I would honestly just recommend you utilizing SkillBridge or getting in contact with somebody here at NASA. I think they have I'm not sure if they have specific sites, but honestly, a veteran or, someone transitioning out, I would ask them, tell them to use SkillBridge. And I don't, I don't know. I guess just utilizing SkillBridge, but I can't think of any like other specific resources or tools, because I feel like it's kind of hard. A lot of people that work here at NASA, they all kind of know each other. Like somebody recommended that they knew. So I'm like, I don't really know how people really find jobs there.
So, it's just a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck is basically.
I don't know. I guess so. That's kind of a sad answer, but it's like,
And sometimes that's the reality of it. I mean, because realistically, like you said, you didn't even know what you were applying for.
yeah, honestly, I think just applying to like, I literally created a specific email and like the same template. I was just changing like the corporation names and had the same resume, and I sent that out to like so many different like skill bridges on the page and everything. So that's kind of how what I did. And I was like calling and had like a lot of conversations with them and talking to them. And so that's kind of how I ended up finding my ticket to NASA. But I think right now, I don't think I have any other suggestions on it.
See, all you gotta do is work hard. That's all it takes. I just want to say, first off, I appreciate you not just for coming on here, but for the example you set. Watching someone go from the Marine Corps. Can you stop? Cut it out. You don't play with that thing all day, and then I'm on a call, and now you decide to play with it. Anyway, as I was saying, watching someone go from the Marine Corps to helping execute one of the most ambitious missions in human history, that's a reminder that your identity doesn't end when your service does. You build the next chapter.
Yes.
So, for anyone listening, pay attention to the patterns here: discipline, curiosity, systems, and a commitment to doing work that matters, right? So, thank you again for being here. I know people are going to love this. If they are interested in reaching out to you about any of this, where can they find you?
They have my Instagram. I think my Instagram is even know social media tools. I don't use it that much. And they can reach me out on Instagram. My Instagram's Kilee Rashay, Rashaye. I don't know if you know how to spell my full name. Yeah, you can just reach me on Instagram. I don't really use any other like social media. That's all I do have, honestly. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Thank you again. And until next time, guys.